Channel. As many of you may know, my husband and I are an Air Force family. So today what we're going to be talking about is a little bit about what we've gone through so far in our Air Force journey. We're going to start talking a little bit about kind of what happens first before the recruit, is what they're called before they go to BMT, basic military training, goes through in what's called a DEP program. DEP, it stands for Delayed Entry Program, and so let's get started. What the recruit kind of does at first, they first, in order to even be considered for, you know, the Air Force, any kind of military, they have to go and talk to a recruiter. They find any recruiter that they like in their area, things of that nature, and they go and they sit down and speak with the recruiter. Once the recruiter decides that the person who is speaking with them is eligible for that branch of the military, they then send them to, here in Minnesota, it's called MEPS. They send them to MEPS to get them qualified and take what's called the ASVAB. The ASVAB is a test that pretty much tells the recruit what job they are good for. At MEPS, they go through an entire day, sometimes a little bit more than a day. Generally, they go to a hotel that's near MEPS the night before. Once they get there, they stay, they have dinner, and then the next morning they go right to the MEPS center and they start with their physical. Once they get their physical, then they go for testing. They test their eyes, they make sure that there's no depth perception issues, things of that nature. And then once they're done with that, they take their ASVAB. Once their ASVAB is finished, they go through and sit with a career counselor who helps them decide which jobs are best for them and what jobs are most suited for them. They then pick 10 jobs that they can choose from later on, or have the branch of the military choose out of so that they can have a job before they go to BMT. Sometimes it's a little different when a recruit goes to BMT without a job. They go in as open, whether it's open general, meaning they're open to any job, open mechanic, they're open to jobs within the mechanic field, open IT or open intel, things of that nature, and it kind of goes from there. Otherwise, you go in with a specific job, going into BMT knowing exactly what your job's going to be once you're done with BMT, unless there's some sort of disqualifier that comes up once you get to BMT. Like I said, that's kind of the MEPS process. It's going to take an entire day. So if you're a spouse out there having your husband, wife, partner go and be at MEPS, expect to not hear from them most of the day. They won't have their phones on them. They won't be able to tell you what's going on until they've finished. Generally about 4:30 in the afternoon, they finally can talk to you and kind of tell you what happened. Some recruits may decide to wait until they're done with the process. Also at MEPS that first time, depending on the recruit and things of that nature, you do sign your first contract with the United States military. And that's where it says, that's where you pick what your contract length is and things of that nature as well. Once you're finished with MEPS and you've signed that contract for the first time with the Air Force, you are in what's called Delayed Entry Program, the DEP program. And this, it kind of varies depending on the recruiter, but generally you go and one time a month you sit down with all the other recruits waiting to leave for BMT, and you talk about what's new with the Air Force, if there are any new guidelines, things of that nature. You also weigh in, you make sure that you're not over or underweight from previous month, and they make sure nothing has changed physically with you and nothing has changed mentally for you. And inside of there, between signing your contract at MEPS and while you're in the DEP program, you're going to be, like I said, get assigned a specific job. We were assigned, my husband went to MEPS in March of last year, and he got a call in about July, giving him the job that he is in now. Then he was assigned a leave date of November. So as you can see, the whole process of the DEP program can be quite lengthy. So don't get discouraged if you have someone who goes in January and doesn't hear anything about a job or anything like that for a couple of months. Sometimes it does take that long. Sometimes it's fairly quick. Sometimes you can go to MEPS, get your job that same day, sign a contract with that, and have your leave date that same day. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. So be prepared for that as well. And be prepared that the leave date may change throughout the entire DEP program. That can happen as well. And once you get to your leave date, which is kind of the next step in the DEP program, my husband left November 14th, which means he left November 17th, and which means he was at the hotel the night prior to that, the 16th of November, and he stayed there that night. I got to see him most of the day that day. We had to drop him off at the hotel by 6 o'clock to sign in. He signed in, he ate dinner. He went to bed. He had to get up super early the next morning on the 17th to get ready to go back to the MEPS Center to do his very last physical before leaving for BMT and sign his very last contract as well as swear in. At our MEPS Center, we are allowed to go, and most MEPS Centers, you are allowed to go for the swearing in. Definitely ask your recruiter what time that is, because they have a specific time for all the new recruits who are leaving to go to BMT. Generally, it's not going to be just Air Force. You're going to have Marines, Navy, and Army there as well. We had to be there at 10 a.m. that day, and when we got there, we just waited. It was kind of a hurry up and wait, like most of the military is, especially for spouses. We waited, we finally saw him just before he swore in. We saw him for about a half an hour. We were able to stand with him and kind of talk with him, see what he did for that day. And then he swore in, and shortly after he swore in, we had to say goodbye to him so that he could get on the plane to leave for BMT. He had his phone on him until he arrived at BMT. He got to call us he got to call me as soon as he arrived down in San Antonio, and then I didn't hear from him again until the next day with his address. So it's kind of, iffy, and some people don't get it till that Sunday after they get to BMT, and some people get it the very next day after they get to BMT. It just kind of depends when they fill up the flights and things of that nature. But that's kind of the whole process of, from when they first sign their contract and talk to that recruiter to leaving for BMT. So if you have any questions, definitely comment below. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to hear more about our story and kind of learn a little bit more about Air Force specific things as well as, things that affect the spouses, click subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day.